Hello there. Welcome back to the Brothers Take podcast. I'm Chris. I'm joined by my brother Adam.
Hello.
We are back in the room to give our take on multiple things this week. Big weekend for streaming TV shows. It's like Disney and Netflix are like battling each other out for that weekend because we had
Whoever
Obi-Wan
wins,
Kenobi.
we lose.
Yeah. Or whoever wins, we win. Like, we win all round. It's We got Obi-Wan Kenobi. The first 2 episodes came out, and then we got the first 7 episodes of Stranger Things 4. And in true Stranger Things 4 fashion, Eric is not with us this week. We are separated. He is out of town. And also in true Stranger Things 4 fashion, the reason he's out of town is because he's playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
He's actually away with friends playing Dungeons and Dragons. So right on theme, right on point.
Nerd.
So myself and Adam, what a nerd. And myself and Adam are going to give our non-spoiler first impressions for, on the 2 shows, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Stranger Things 4. With Obi-Wan, obviously we have the first 2 episodes. We have watched them. We'll give our thoughts on those. And with Stranger Things 4, we haven't finished even Volume 1 yet, and that's why we're keeping all this non-spoiler. And I mean, there's a lot to watch. Not everyone will have watched it at this point. Need to give it at least another week before everyone is surely caught up on it. So just non-spoiler impressions, first of all, is what we're going to get into. But we'd love to hear from you guys as well as the discussion goes on. So if you guys are watching this on YouTube, please jump down in the comments to share your thoughts on either show or any point that we bring up. And while you're here, if you're enjoying this discussion, why not give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, click that notification bell for all future episodes, including when we eventually do the spoiler talks on both these shows. And if you guys listen to us on audio platforms, you can also touch base with us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take, again, to give your take on everything that we bring up here today. But without further ado, let's jump right in. Okay, let's start with Obi-Wan. Because we only have 2 episodes to kind of give our
I feel like that
thoughts on.
either that should be the title or Kenobi should be the title, because there's some... That's a mouthful.
Yeah, I think Kenobi would be a perfect title.
Yeah.
I think Obi-Wan Kenobi is too long.
Yeah.
A great name, but of a character, but too long a title. Like, I think Kenobi would be perfect.
Oh, you mean old Ben? What's that Family Guy sketch? Obi-Wan Kenobi. I wonder if he means Obi-Wan Kenobi.
It's good. Yeah, that always confused me as a child, actually, when I was watching the original Star Wars. Like, Obi-Wan Kenobi, I wonder if it means old Ben Kenobi. And I was like, what is the difference? As a child, I was very confused. Like, I wasn't quite sure. So Family Guy kind of hit that nail on the head there with that joke.
I mean, even in our local town, when you come across someone with a similar surname, you can kind of join the dots and say, oh, they're probably related.
Yeah, they are probably the exact same person.
Yeah, but like in a wide galaxy, how many people share the same surname?
Yeah, that's true.
How many Kenobis are there?
Yeah. I was like, hold on. So this message comes straight to Tatooine, and I am looking for Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's like, I know an old Ben Kenobi. I wonder if he's a relative. It's like, what are the chances? Come on now. He's most definitely a relative.
Yeah.
If nothing else. But anyway, what did you think of the 2 episodes that we've seen so far?
I thought,
without jumping into spoilers.
To quote Obi-Wan himself,
Oh, beautiful.
how did this happen? We're smarter than this.
Wow. Okay. You didn't like it?
No, I thought it had a good, strong start. Seeing I won't get into it, but I liked how it started, and then it just I don't know whether it's the camera work or just the general direction. There's like a tonal shift or something. It's just not melding well together for me. And there's moments where I'm like, oh, come on, it's like, and I think it's hard to know. It's really difficult without fucking spoiling what's happening in the show, but it's just it's just not working for me. I also felt that the musically didn't sound like Star Wars to me at all.
Right.
I actually felt it sounded a little bit more like PlayStation's Spider-Man or something.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Yeah,
that's weird, especially when the kind of intro title comes across the screen, and
Yeah.
whatever music's playing there is very like Insomniac's Spider-Man, and I to a
Yeah.
point where I want to look up, is it the same composer? Because like certain composers, they even if they're doing a different track, sometimes their signatures in there somewhere. I'm curious who scored this one, and is it, because I thought that exact same thing.
It didn't feel like Star Wars, the composition, like the set design and the costume design, all that side of it, that felt like Star Wars, but the
Right.
score to me didn't feel like Star Wars. I think Ewan is really good in it. He's
I think
excellent in it.
Yeah, he is excellent.
And it's just unfortunate with those 2 episodes where they're going with the story, I feel.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed them.
Okay.
But there's elements I don't like, and I do think there's like an issue in balancing the tone.
Yep.
So there's some dark stuff, and that's the stuff that I'm really gelling with. That's great. The kind of there's a lot of talk of guilt and trauma and
everything to do with Kenobi
that
himself.
kind of everything to do with Kenobi is fantastic.
Yeah,
really fantastic. And there's also, like, I suppose, just going off like the trailers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the role of the Inquisition or what's going on there. I like that. I think it's really good.
I think it's a good idea.
There's kind of a witch trial type
Yep.
thing going on in the show. And I actually really like that new character. I think she's called the Third Sister. I really like her. I think she's cool.
Yeah.
Some people are mixed on her, but for me, she actually kind of works.
I think she's grand. I think what they're doing with her is a bit like forced a little bit.
Right. It seems to be, but I feel like she's gonna have a backstory that maybe will contextualize the way she's behaving.
Yeah, but not so much in just her behavior. It's like everything about her is incredibly forced. Her aggression is forced. Her ability to move from one place to another is somewhat forced a little bit. It's just
right
there. It's an odd show. So far we've seen a couple of stunts and we've seen a couple of kind of fight scenes in the first 2 episodes. And both of them don't feel right to me.
Okay.
They feel really amateur in terms of how they're done and not framed well. I'm interested to know what other works did the director do. Is this the right director? Is this the right camera team for this show?
I don't know. I have to say I'm probably enjoying it more than any of the other Star Wars shows I've seen so far. I'm more interested where it's going. There are things that aren't sitting right with me though, and so for example, some of the performances are excellent, and then they are contrasted by some god awful performances. That like there's some guy on Tatooine, I won't say who he is or what he's doing there, but his delivery is so bad that it's like you've got this top tier TV acting and then this like really shit TV acting happening in the same show, and it took me out of it. Like, it was like, oh god, that's bad, and then it's like, oh, that's really good. It's just that kind of mix back and forth. It's like it's hard to just get really, really into it.
After watching the first 2 episodes, though, like I'm not compelled to actually continue it, to be honest.
Okay.
The only reason I would want to watch it is really just to see Hayden again. That's it.
Right. And and
that's it. Like,
that's quite exciting.
So far, I am not interested in the story that they've set up.
I am interested in watching it. However, I think I'm going to wait till they drop all of the next 4 and then binge it. I don't think you'd get enough in one episode a week to feel like, I don't know. With streaming, I just don't. I prefer the drop it all at once model.
I prefer
you binge the shit out of it. Like that's because that itch to like keep going when an episode ends, I feel is really enjoyable.
Yeah, well, I'm a little different, and I find that online now the discussion is all around Kenobi. Luckily, no one's really talking about Stranger Things, and I actually think that's a good thing. because there's moments of the show that were completely spoiled by just people discussing it on Twitter.
Oh, of Kenobi?
Yeah. And
Right.
if it all dropped at once, well, you might only just get a couple of episodes spoiled, but you wouldn't get the rest of them spoiled. You get to move at it at your own pace. And if you're binging it, then you're not on social media, and it won't get spoiled for you then. So I like,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
that sense, that you have
Yeah.
more control over how you get to consume it. It was very frustrating. Like, it literally was out a day. I didn't get to watch it launch day. I watched it the day after.
Yeah.
And it was already being spoiled on Twitter due to discourse.
I have to say, I'm quite impressed with, regardless of whether people like it as a story element or the direction that they've taken with it, I am impressed with what they did not show in any of the trailers or any of the marketing in terms of what the storyline actually is.
Yeah.
And the characters that it involves, regardless of whether I think it's good or not, or I'm enjoying it. I am kind of enjoying it, actually. I'm pleasantly surprised with the characters they're pairing Obi-Wan with, that I was not expecting at all.
Yeah.
But there is some stuff there that's not. It's like, I don't like the way that was done. You know what I mean? It's like, I really like the idea, but it's like, but I don't like the execution right there in that moment, and it's taken me out of it. It's like, and then there'll be another scene. I was like, oh no, I really like this. I'm back in. And then something else will happen. I go, I don't like that though. It's like this constant back and forth ping pong thing of like, please stay on tone, please. You're doing so well, and then something will. But I think I'd prefer it to The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett.
I didn't bother with the Book of Boba Fett because I just really wasn't into The Mandalorian. I watched the 2 seasons of it, and again, it's. I understand it's set in the Star Wars universe, but it just doesn't kind of feel like Star Wars to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I know these are Disney shows, but they genuinely feel like a Disney shows.
Right.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
Yeah. I know. I do know what you're saying. It's like maybe geared at kids too much.
Which is fine, but then some elements aren't. You know, it's
yeah,
and it's know your audience too, though. Like it's very clear who they were marketing this at, bringing back Ewan and Kris.
Yeah, it's the fans of the prequels.
Yeah, and well, they're our age, so it's like
yeah.
They were clearly marketing to that group. Obviously, you want to make it child friendly, but all Star Wars is. You know, there's not a single Star Wars movie that's not suitable for children.
I think the moments where the show shines are actually in the slower moments.
Yep.
Again, like there's a lot of moments with Ewan's character or with Obi-Wan where he's not quite the Obi-Wan we're used to. He's a bit jaded. He's very actually like, which maybe people don't want to do this comparison because I think they're really enjoying the show, but famously dislike this movie. But very like Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi.
Yeah, but it's more justified here.
No, it is. It doesn't feel out of nowhere. It actually feels like this feels kind of right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I get why they've done it for the story that they're telling. I'm not sure if the time jump they've picked is a good idea.
I agree. I don't think it should be that far ahead.
Yeah, I think they've jumped too far ahead. Now, the reason they've done that, I think, is so that, for example, from the trailers, you can see Luke at a certain age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I still don't think it was a good idea to jump that far ahead.
No, it's not necessary.
Even if they wanted Luke at that age. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's...
So
yeah, because it doesn't
add
up.
In the next 10 years, he's
an old man.
You know? That or they needed to start graying him up a little bit, you know, in his beard and in his hair, like start graying him a little bit, just to see the hints of where he's heading.
Oddly enough, he just doesn't. It doesn't look like he's aged much, does he?
No, he looks as good as ever.
He looks great.
He looks gorgeous.
And his performance It is
Performance
his
is great.
performance is really good, and it is better than he ever was
Yeah, no,
as
he's
Kenobi.
truly excellent. That's why I'm enjoying it. I think is because I am invested in him as a character, and I'm invested in where his struggle with things that he's learning is going to go and how it's going to play out. Even though I'm surprised at the time jump, and I would have thought he was already aware of certain things in that space of time.
Absolutely, yeah. 10 years later.
Yeah, I am still. So it's like, again, that's a choice I disagree with.
Yeah.
However, I still want to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I wouldn't have. I would have
just
had
the
it.
look on his face when he's learning some of this stuff is
10 years is an awful
amazing.
long time.
It's a really long time.
It's not
to
necessary.
Have certain aspects absent.
Yeah, and I think
like it's talk that way.
I think maybe even just three or
3 to
4 years afterwards.
Yeah,
completely different story. I'd be all over this.
Right, I get you. Yeah. No, yeah, and I get what they're doing as well. But yeah, I mean, there's an element of someone. I think the director was saying one of the things they were inspired by was like Logan.
Oh fuck yeah! Okay.
So there's an element of that, right?
Right.
But obviously nowhere near as dark as Logan. Like it's not.
No.
Hasn't watched it. Yeah, it's not like that. I do think though, if you're like a Star Wars fan, if you've enjoyed the other shows, actually, I would say if you've enjoyed the other shows, I think you'll enjoy this show because I think it's of a strong quality in terms of those Disney shows.
Yeah, but there are elements that I feel relate a bit to the prequels a bit, and in terms of the quality of it, because there's moments where he's in a busy street, and it's very clear just by like those streets don't feel genuine to me. All I can see is now, okay, extras, do something, and
right,
they're just like trying to make it look like this is a genuine street, but there's only like a handful of people on it. But the way the camera's done is to make it look like, oh, it's really busy. And then it's a wide shot and it's like nearly an empty street. And it's like, oh, really? Like it has elements of that kind of green screen-ish approach that we had in the prequels.
Yeah.
But the prequels felt busier, I felt, in certain, especially if you're out on the streets.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they're using the same tech that Mandalorian has, which is
I believe so. Yeah, I
but
believe so.
it works better in Mandalorian because it's a more isolated story, right? Most cases, Mandalorian is on his own, and that's just a background. Here, they're trying to populate it with people, and it doesn't look right to me.
Yeah, because I suppose the Mandalorian needs to be isolated because it's sort of a lone Western like kind of thing.
Yeah,
and then this is a very much a fugitive on the run type thing because Jedis are outcast, they're being hunted. So it needs crowds because the whole thing is the crowd is the danger. The crowd is if someone spots me or realizes who I am, I'm in danger. I'm fucked. So it needs that crowded atmosphere and that kind of hiding amongst the people kind of thing. In some aspects, I think it's done really well, but I do get what you're saying, like where some of the streets do feel a bit like they're going for the illusion of crowded and it's not quite there. I think I enjoyed the second episode more than the first episode as an episode, because there was a lot of griminess to one of the planets they visit in the second episode that I quite liked. However, I think the best moment in the show so far came in the first episode, and it's hinted at in the trailers, but Joel Edgerton is back as Uncle Owen. He's great. He's really good.
Yeah, he's really good. He actually almost sounds like the OG one.
He does,
the way he speaks.
I feel like he studied the old one and
Must have
really
done.
tried to pick up his mannerisms. And there's a scene between him and Obi-Wan, and I do think it was the best scene so far. I think it was magnificent. It's just really good, strong quality acting where you're like, oh, this is great. And then you'll get another scene where there's a character and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Where the fuck did you come from?
Just, jarring.
That was almost a bit Robin Hood Men in Tights a bit, isn't it? He's just walking along. It's like, and here's another character. Oh, hello.
Yeah.
Oh, it's that you.
I have to say as well, I was very surprised by the appearance of a very famous person, who
Yeah, so was I. It took me.
You won't recognize from Star Wars,
Yeah,
but if you're into music, you'll recognize.
yeah.
It's like, what the fuck is that really?
It's-
For a second, I was like, he looks an awful lot like, because in my mind, I was like, it can't be.
I was trying to figure out who it was for ages. I was like,
Right.
because I was thinking of. I assumed he was an actor.
Yeah.
However, this is probably the first time he's ever offbeat.
I don't. Oh, no, it's not a spoiler, is it? Because
I don't know.
He's a character that nobody knows. So
Right? Yeah, I guess.
Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers is in Obi-Wan Kenobi playing a character.
Yeah.
I thought he was okay. I think he was all right.
He was okay. Those scenes. Well, it's
In what
those
he's doing,
scenes
like,
though.
it's
I
fine.
think they're the poorest scenes in the show. For me.
Yeah, they're framed in a weird way. Like there's a character that they encounter in the woods.
Oh,
And
it's
as
just
if
awful. Like
it's as if
it
the
is
character
awful.
ran into the woods and then waited. It's like, it's now I'm supposed to have an encounter with you. Like it's weird the way it was shot. It didn't feel natural. But yeah, no, I have to say I am enjoying it, but I am gonna wait till all the next 4 are out and then binge watch the 4 of them. I am not going to wait week by week, and it probably will be spoiled by then anyway. But I just don't feel like watching it 1 week at a time. I don't know. I don't have that kind of it's not like,
Yeah, I might throw it on if I'm bored, but like I'm watching other stuff that I'm more compelled to watch. So
yeah, okay, cool. Let's talk about some of the other stuff. But before we do, if you guys are watching Obi-Wan Kenobi, let us know your thoughts again on YouTube. Jump down in the comments, share your thoughts. But if you're listening on audio platforms, you can also touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take. Are you enjoying Obi-Wan Kenobi? Is it gelling with you or is it not gelling with you, and why? And what do you hope to see in the future episodes, and what's your plan for watching it? Will you watch week by week? Are you going to wait till it's all out to binge it? Let us know. But jumping on to the other show that came out over the weekend, Stranger Things Season 4, Volume 1, which is the first 7 episodes. Now, we have not watched the first 7 episodes. Adam, how many episodes have you watched so far?
5.
5, and I have watched 6. So we've done pretty well out of the 7 over a busy weekend too. Like, so
has it actually? If you go on to Netflix, does it say Volume 1? Does it say that?
It doesn't, but in all the marketing it did. It's just that the last
Right.
2 episodes aren't there yet, right?
I feel like they should communicate that a bit better on
I-
the platform.
Oh, on the platform itself, right? Okay.
Yeah, because if you haven't watched the promos or anything like that, like I wasn't aware of that until you said it. So
Well, I'm surprised the way, like, they initially, I suppose, when they first revealed that the show was coming and that it was coming in 2 volumes and that it'd be 9 episodes, I kind of figured it's like, all right, we'll probably get the first 5 and then the last 4 or something like that. And then when they revealed that it's to be the first 7 and then the last 2, I was like, that's weird. That is a weird way to break it up, especially when there's like a month in between.
right, wow.
You know what I mean? Like, the last 2 episodes don't come out until the 1st of July.
Why
However,
not wait till it was all done then?
Don't know. Well, I do know. I think Netflix wanted to stagger the launch of the episodes
Right.
because then you stay subscribed for longer. If someone jumps on just to watch it,
Okay.
they will get at least 2 months subscription out of you, right?
Okay. Maybe it's a test run, or it could
I
be that
think
the
it is a
last
test
2
run.
episodes, because this is definitely the most CGI heavy season.
Well, there was another, that was another thing where they came out and said the VFX are not finished
I'd imagine
yet
that would be the
for
case.
some of but Netflix were also like, we need to start getting content out quickly because we are losing so many subscribers. So I think
wonder
that
why.
I think there's a number of factors as to why it was launched in this way, but I'm just surprised at the breakup. But then maybe when you watch episode 7, which we haven't got to yet, maybe it'll make sense. Like, it's a good cutoff point. Like, maybe it leaves you hanging.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine it will. I don't know what it's going to be, but I imagine it's going to leave us hanging.
Yeah.
Those bastards. like, I'm like, I don't know, I'd be itching for those last 2. But the run times that were revealed, not only are these episodes incredibly long, and if people have been waiting the last 3 years to watch more Stranger Things, they have more than made up for it in terms of content, like a fucking lot. The last episode of this season, which is not the last season, is 2.5 hours long.
As in episode 7 or episode 9?
No, as in episode 9. When that comes, it is a feature-length movie.
What do you mean it's not? I thought this is the final season.
No, this is the penultimate season. This is
Holy
setting
shit! There's
up.
another season.
Season 5 is the final season. They revealed that. So that's why they kept saying the marketing for this one. Every ending has a beginning, which is their way of saying this is the beginning of the end. Like we are gearing towards the end, and we know what the end is. And as far as I know, the Duffer Brothers revealed that they wrote season 4 and season 5 at the same time.
Cool.
So they know how it ends. You know what I mean? As opposed to like a show that like it feels like they're setting up the final pieces.
Yep.
But again, no spoilers, guys, because there's a lot to watch. People haven't got around to it all yet. Adam, what are your thoughts on season 4 so far?
So far,
just general first, and then we can break it.
It's interesting because I watched. I think it was like the first 2 episodes of this. Then I watched Kenobi, and then I continued with Stranger Things, and just the difference in quality.
Right.
Like even just down to 2 people talking, and it's like the way they frame it and the editing. It's just top notch. This is really one of the best TV shows ever made. I think the first 2 episodes. Well, not so much the second episode. I say that maybe the first episode. Maybe people might feel not sure. And I would say just stick with it because yes, there's moments of it that feel a little bit like season 3, which is a kind of the least favorite for a lot of people.
Right.
But I think just stick through it. It very quickly ramps up, and then it's then it's off.
Yeah. I'm right with you. I did, and even when I was at the season 1, I was like, there was an awful lot of it I was enjoying, but I was also like, this is a lot of setup, an awful lot of setup, like a whole episode, which is over an hour and 15 minutes of pretty much setup. I will say it opens incredibly. I loved the opening of the first episode, like the which they revealed on YouTube like a week before as well. That opening 8 minutes is fucking fantastic. And I was like, I am so here for this. And then there's an awful lot of some of that goofiness, I suppose, that is there in season 3.
Well, it's the teenage drama stuff, right? Which we're not here for.
Yeah, not really.
I don't mind them doing it as kind of a weird reference to like the 80s style movies.
Yeah.
But I think they focus. It becomes part of the story. That's where, like, especially with season 3, that was a fairly heavy part of the story. That's where it starts to get really boring.
Yeah. There's definitely moments where I was like, ooh, I don't know about this. And like, there's some new characters that we meet, and they're certainly a bit eccentric when we first meet them. And it's like, oh, I don't know, these are weird choices. But then you get to know them a bit better, and then you can.
But that's Stranger Things.
Warming to them.
That's Stranger Things characters 101, isn't it? Like
it isn't it? Because like remember how Steve started, right?
Yeah, everyone hates Steve, but now Steve's my favorite character.
I love Steve.
Steve
is
and
fantastic.
Steve and Dustin are my favorite characters of the show.
Wow, right, cool. Actually, we should
especially with this season.
They're excellent.
Yeah, they're unbelievable.
Well, I would just like to say, like, in general, for the most part, the performances across the board are phenomenal. And they're even like fucking Millie Bobby Brown, wherever the fuck they found her, right? Like, not only like in season 1, even like, which she had fuck all to say, she was fucking incredible. And now she has more to say than ever. But it's what she's not saying where the acting chops truly lie. It's the what she's not saying, and it's the looks in her eyes that say a million words. It's fucking incredible. I was blown away by just her performance. I think it's fucking incredible. And she's not the only one. Like, everyone is, whether it's like, Steve could make you laugh your ass off with just a look. Like, his comedic timing.
Yeah, his timing is unbelievable.
So good. Versus like other characters could break your heart with a look. It's just fucking incredible.
I was just saying, when I was watching the episode last night, I was like, the comedy in this is what, like, all the Hollywood movies today are trying to achieve.
Right.
Because it's not like it's not overly hilarious. It's more, I suppose, in the moment, the irony or like just it's so real.
Yeah.
Like everything they're saying is like that's what you would say, and I think that's what makes it funny.
Yeah.
And just the comedic timing and everything is just is bang on.
And you mentioned Dustin, like
He's unbelievable.
that guy just knows how to sell lines, and he's great. He's great. And there are some new characters that when it first started, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like them. But even so there's a new character who's like the captain of the basketball team.
Yeah. He reminds me of, is it Andy's boyfriend in the Goonies?
Yeah. Yes, he's very like him. And I was like, I don't need a new
Asshole.
a new jock,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But if you compare the jock characters that they've done throughout the show, which is initially Steve,
Yep.
then Billy, and then now this guy, I can't even think of his name at the moment. They're very different to each other. Like they've all played the jock role, but in a very different way. And I actually really like what they're doing with this character. And it surprised me because I was
his
like,
assholeness
there's too many
is justified to some degree.
to an extent.
In his
right?
mind, it's definitely justified.
Yeah, like he's not out to bully.
No.
In at least in what we're seeing in this season. But oh my god, okay. So maybe now we should like try and narrow it down because we'll talk about maybe each aspect that was shown or at least revealed in trailers and in marketing.
Okay.
Which is like what's going on in the different locations, and just are we enjoying the story that we're seeing in those locations?
Okay.
Right? So
yeah.
Hawkins, I suppose, is the bread and butter of the show. It's where it all started off, and it's really where the show is like central. What do you think about the stuff that's going on in the Hawkins storyline?
I'm confused, intrigued,
Yeah,
terrified. It's this is definitely the
love it.
it's definitely the scariest season I think so far.
Okay.
Just like I'm just thinking of like you purely because you don't know who's next. I think in terms of bad things happening, like much like the first season.
Yeah.
Like the first season, the way it's this Demogorgon on the loose, and it takes Barb, and we're still not over that. And this feels a little bit like that too. It's letting you get to know people first before anything could happen, even just briefly, just so you know their name, as opposed to. I can't really remember. Season 2 was really anyone at risk apart from Will. I was supposed to. There is the demo dogs, but it was a good.
I didn't feel like anyone was particularly in danger. I guess.
Yeah, and it's the same with the
stakes were higher.
The third season, a lot of people are at risk, but I haven't a clue who any of them are, so I don't care. And anyone that did become kind of flayed, I guess is the term they use, isn't it? Is they were kind of mean people anyway.
They're assholes. You didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has gone back to like this is Barb on a larger scale, and it's it's definitely the scariest.
Yeah, and they let you get to know the characters enough before anything bad happens to them. That much like a Barb actually. I think that's a really good comparison where it's like you have enough context that they're not just a extra.
Yep.
They're not just an extra. They are a named character. They have a little bit of story and a little bit of interaction before something would happen to them. I suppose for anyone who hasn't watched it yet, think in terms of 80s reference, Nightmare on Elm Street is all over this season. Hellraiser.
Yep.
It. It's that kind of shit, really, is the kind of horror we're in now, as opposed to
Amityville Horror
Mm.
plays a role here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely it's the more kind of possession and like I suppose the spiritual haunting horrors of the 80s.
And psychological horror, as well as that kind of slasher.
Yep.
Like there's kind of like a blend of psychological horror and slasher going on, and I'm enjoying it. I have to say,
yeah,
I am enjoying it.
I think episode 4, which I think is called Dear Billy, was my favorite one so far. It had such an
100%.
amazing moment.
Oh my fucking god! I literally I got up, I walked around for a bit. I was watching it with Ash. I was like, Ash, that was fucking amazing. And she was like, that was amazing. We were both gobsmacked. Again, not saying anything what it was. If you watched it, you fucking know exactly what we're talking about.
The score is on point with this season.
The score is unfucking believable.
Yeah, the music.
Oh my god,
it's very on. They've done a great job here.
I actually think
so. Hawkins is cool. Hawkins is pretty good.
And I'm not just talking about even that big moment in Dear Billy. There's other stuff that happens in that episode. There's action moments as well earlier on where I was gobsmacked, and I think that could be the best episode of Stranger Things that I've seen so far. I'd like to see the rest of this volume, but I think it could be the strongest.
The performances are good in that one.
So good.
Overall, it could be the best episode ever of Stranger Things.
It's incredible. What do you like? So we've talked about kind of the horror stuff that's gone on in Hawkins as well. We mentioned like Steve and Dustin. What do you think about what's going on with Lucas? Which they hid quite a lot of that in the marketing, but I kind of dig what they've done with Lucas.
To some degree, yes, and others is just like I don't know. I think there's some things that feel a little bit forced.
Right. Okay.
But it's fine, and he's good though. That actor, he's really really good.
He's great. Yeah, I really like him. But I kind of like the as it's unraveling further, that kind of in too deep predicament, I guess, of like, it's like, at what point do I say something? And then by not saying something, it's like, now is it too late to say something?
Yeah, I
quite liked that. I liked the tension that he found himself in, and that he wasn't sure who to believe either, like kind of early on and stuff. I thought it was good. I thought it was interesting.
Is
to do that with him
the kind of the new bully, the new jock kind of thing, and the his little gang that he has? Is that a reference to anything? I feel like it is.
It feels a bit like, to me, it reminds me of a book I read, which was more based on like the 50s or 60s, The Outsiders, which was about like the Socias and the Greasers. So the Socias would go and beat up the Greasers, and so, but it's that thing of like those two demographics, whether it's your grungers and your chavs or whatever it is, like your groups of people who they have clearly different interests, so they don't like each other.
Yeah.
And then they believe shit about each other. And I suppose another thing that's really interesting about this season is, without giving away in what way it's used, they play into what was called the satanic panic of the 80s.
Really good actually how they did that.
Which was a huge thing, especially around Dungeons and Dragons. And it makes sense that they're touching on that.
Yeah.
Given that it really was a thing that came up. The show has used Dungeons and Dragons heavily. It's set in the 80s, and there's lots of creepy shit that's happening. It's very natural that it has gone there. I think it's really good. The Hawkins stuff is I love it. I love it. I'm like, sometimes when it moves away from Hawkins, I'm like, let's go back to Hawkins.
Yes, there's very much moments of I just want to go back to Aragorn and Legolas. I don't. Although the heart is with Frodo and Sam, the heart of story. I'm like, okay, but the cool shit's happening over at Helm's Deep. So can we go back to Helm's Deep, please?
Yes, very much so. I agree. But let's go to California next, which I think is the next big. Like I suppose if the story, whichever stories are getting the most amount of time, I think it is Hawkins is like number one, California would be number two,
Yeah.
and then Russia being number three.
Yeah.
But the California stuff, how's that gelling with you?
Really weird at first. I didn't really care for it. That's kind of the teenage drama side of things. You know, the more season 3-ish stuff happens there.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you get to, I suppose it'll be episode 4-ish, I think. I don't know whether it's 3 or 4. Or could even actually be 5. then it just, you know, quickly takes off, and there's a really, really cool like sequence that happens in that setting. But that's the slow burner. I think California, that's the slow burner part.
Right.
Know?
I think aspects of it are, but there's also aspects of it I'm really enjoying. Again, I think 11 is amazing.
Yeah.
And I actually really liked the which I suppose is shown in all the trailers. I like seeing 11 in school.
Mm-hmm.
And I like what's going on there. Well, I hate it, actually.
Yeah, I don't like that side of things.
I feel for her, and I'm like, oh, fuck you.
Yeah, I just think that I'm not I don't particularly like how that's written. To be honest.
Okay. Think it's overdone a little bit.
Kind of. I mean, we've seen them being like the kids and what they have gone through anyway in school, right? We've seen the type of drama they go through anyway, and all of it's bad, right? It really is bad. And here it's like, yeah, it's the 80s trope of like kid trying to get through school. It is a bit over the top. It doesn't take that much to you know, make someone maybe feel uncomfortable or anything like that. But also just the responses, I think, are not realistic.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So I just don't think that bit's well written. And I think that's unfortunate for Elle, because Elle is actually a character that I have kind of not been interested in since season 1.
Okay.
She's actually probably my least favorite character in Stranger Things. I appreciate her necessity.
Yeah.
But
100%.
I don't really like her stories. And every time it goes back to Elle, she's the Frodo of the show, in my opinion. And I kind of want to just go back to, you know, let's just get on with the action, please.
Yeah.
Because we know at some point it's just like, oh, well, we just have to go through. It's just her everyday going-ons until she comes back around and maybe saves the world or something like that. That's kind of, it's like, I know where this is going, and as far as I can tell, this is filler content. And I just think in comparison to the content that's written for the other characters, I just find her content the least interesting, because she is a good actress.
Yeah.
She was able to cry on demand, which I haven't really seen. You know, some actors right now would really need that to help their case, let's say. But she can just quite easily just. There's even moments where it's like, this isn't even. She has different levels of crying too. There's like, I am stressed, I am sad, I am happy, I am not knowing what the fuck is going on.
I suppose that's the thing that's drawing me in, though, is that like regardless of what's being written for her,
yeah,
she is just incredible. I think this is the best she's been since season 1.
I'd agree with that. Yeah,
I just think she's it's fucking crazy.
Because 2 kind of took her in a weird direction, didn't it? So
it did. Well, I always thought 2 started strong with what was going on with her and Hopper.
Yeah,
but it's just when she goes off on her own adventure, that was the bit that like became less interesting. And then of course they made a huge mistake with that episode 7, the Lost Sister stuff, where it's like that would have been better sprinkled where we go back and forth to that, so that if you don't like it, at least you're enjoying other aspects of the episode, rather than doing a whole episode of these characters you don't care about.
Yeah.
You know, so that was like a which I think they've learned from, in terms of the way now they're sprinkling back and forth whenever they're doing different stories.
Yep.
What do you think about what's going on with Will?
I really like that stuff,
I
and
quite like it too. I
and
guess I've heard other people when they're talking like non-spoiler reviews with this season, they're like, "Oh, Will doesn't get much to do," and I'm like,
are you kidding me?
I'm like, I don't know if you're paying
Myself,
attention
and
to what's
Pagan
going on
are
with Will.
sitting on the couch because like we both have our theories, and then when I shared my
Sure.
theory, Pagan's like, "Oh no, oh you're right, oh god,"
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
and
like
it's
yeah,
like, oh,
100%.
this is so sad.
Yeah. It is. It is. It's really like, and there's a wonderful moment where Mike, I suppose, comes out to California. So like he starts off in Hawkins, but he spends most of this season in California.
Yeah.
And he goes over and hugs Elle, and it's lovely. And there's just this awkward little moment between him and Will where nothing's said, but it's awkward. And it shouldn't be awkward, but it is awkward.
Yeah.
And
Oh no,
it's wonderful.
it's the story and the kind of in between the lines. It's in the silent moments. It's in his reaction. Like Noah's a fucking great actor, and
He really is. He really is.
yes,
Yeah,
he doesn't have much to say, but that's his performance, and that's where the story is. It's very
much like with what I was saying with 11. It's what he's not saying.
it's a show don't tell kind of thing, and
Yeah.
if you're busy, if you're like on your phone, you're gonna miss all that shit, so pay attention, you'll see it.
Put that phone down and you'll see that there's a lot going on at Will, and I think I just think each character, like some arcs are more important than others, but each character has a arc, and it's really showing. I have to say I'm not loving this Argyle character that they've introduced in California with Jonathan.
Yeah, that's the part of it, and I don't particularly like necessarily the direction that Jonathan himself went in.
Yeah.
Feels, considering his father and things like that, I just think this is a strange direction for him to go in.
I think he's nearly the most left turn direction of all the characters.
Yeah.
It's strange.
There are moments that Argyle, though, I think are...
Oh, there's moments where he
funny,
says stuff where it's like, yeah, that's funny. Like, but again, I suppose he's nearly only there for comic relief because the rest of the characters have been through so much that they can't really be that in California. They need a character who knows nothing, who can just be that.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll change. Maybe there'll be a moment where I'm like, okay, now I've really warmed to him. But at the moment, he seems to be just, so they'll get characters in Stranger Things who start off as a stereotype, but then they flesh out into their own character.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And at the moment, he's just a stereotype.
Yeah.
And I suppose I'm just waiting for maybe that moment where it turns around and I'm like, oh, you know what? Argyle's great. But I just don't have that yet.
Hopefully
but for some people, maybe they just want that stereotype and they're happy to have it because it alleviates some of the tension.
He's the turtle from Finding Nemo, basically.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, he is.
I'm glad to see. I don't recall seeing Robin in any of the trailers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no,
all right. Okay. I wasn't sure whether she was going to be back in it, but I'm glad she is back.
Actually,
she's a bit strange in this one, though.
Jumping back, yeah. Yeah.
She's a little weird in it, but
I don't like her as much as I liked her in season 3.
No, yeah.
I think they're overdoing it a little bit.
Yes.
I don't think she was that weird. Like, she was a little bit weird, but she was also a little bit. Like, she was always pointing out to Steve how weird it is that Steve has so many kid friends and how weird it is that Steve can't seem to get a girl. And like she was a little bit more grounded, I thought, but also didn't connect with girls her age.
Yes.
For other reasons. But yeah, now she's like a nutcase.
Yeah, she's been.
It's a little bit much
written a bit strange in this one.
Yeah. I'm not loving it, actually. I have to say that's one character where there's nothing wrong with her performance. I think Maya Hawke's great, but I'm not crazy about the way they've written Robin this time around. And then I suppose the other big storyline is Russia.
Yeah.
Man, poor
Hopper. Some fucking brutal shit in that.
Yeah, he's having a really rough, horrible time.
It's the only moment in the entire show where I might have to like look away a little bit. Is like the stuff in Russia.
yeah, but I have to say I am. Some of the stuff in Russia I'm not enjoying, and for me that's the slowest burn. like I'm super interested in it, but it also feel like there's some of the stuff that's happening in California is directly connected to the stuff that's happening in Hawkins without giving anything away.
Yep.
Like there are characters reacting to the stuff that's happening in Hawkins and going to California, or you know what I mean? Like there's a direct correlation almost. So those two, even though they're distant, they feel connected. Russia is very much not connected yet.
Definitely
And
a yes.
yeah, and I hope it will be.
Well, I see it more as
But
possibly not the events that are happening in Russia or even the characters of Russia, but more so this is going to be a really great payoff story wise for Hopper himself. And internally,
yeah,
this is going to be like
yeah.
a his moment kind of a thing, you know?
Right. Yeah. And I love. Well, I'm looking forward to, I suppose, what they showed in the trailer.
Yeah.
I've yet to get there. I
Same.
don't know if that's going to be. Maybe they're holding off till the finale, and that'll be annoying because we'll have to wait another month. But I'm really looking forward to when we finally get to that pitch fight that was shown in the trailers. Like I just think with the quality of the other action set pieces and stuff that has already been in this season, I just have a feeling that's going to be a really special sequence.
Yeah, because
And
he's the
also-
only one that wouldn't know how to take on one of these things.
Yeah,
really.
and also they are fucked. Like
Because
they
he's
are
the only
so
one that like you
unbelievably
can
fucked.
kind of see like obviously there's failed attempts from previous gladiators,
Right.
but
Yeah.
he in the trailer is like lighting up a flame thing. So it's like
Right.
he's the only one that knows that this thing
Fire is a weakness, right?
Yeah.
So he's gonna have some chance.
This is his Spartacus moment. Bringer of rain.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But again, it just feels like a bit of a slow burn, the Russia stuff. It's not happening. And maybe that's on purpose because of just how much torment he's going through. But I suppose as well that's combined with the sort of what Joyce and Murray are doing.
Yeah,
And
that
if it's just not coming along quickly enough. It's not.
well, their
I don't
side
know.
of it, I think their little adventure is wacky.
Yeah, well, that's more like if there's different genres going on in the different storylines, they have like an action comedy duo, you know,
Yeah.
or you know something akin to, even though the romance isn't there, like a rom-com action movie or something.
Yeah.
It is wacky. It's weird. It's different.
Definitely the
sometimes
most
it's-
CGI heavy.
Yeah. Weird where the CGI is and where it's not. I have to say, some of the sets as well are fucking amazing. And some of the set pieces.
This dudo in the trailer, then, right? The kind of guy behind it all. The
I think we
evil.
could. They openly spoken about
You see it in the trailer anyway.
Vecna.
Like what? Are we gonna get a good where you're at? Is there like an explanation? I guess on like because there's a very clear from season 1, 2, and 3. There's a clear kind of connection between each of the creatures.
Yeah, and there's a hierarchy in the Upside Down.
Yeah.
Right.
Do we
That this thing doesn't seem to
connect?
fall in line with.
Yeah.
Right?
He seems like his own thing.
So where I'm at now, I don't have an answer, right? But what I do have are theories.
Okay. Yeah.
Which feels great. When was the last time I was watching a show and having these crazy theories about maybe it's, and like I'm actually analyzing each scene, like
Yeah.
it feels like fucking Lost again or something, where I'm like maybe thinking about it too much. But I have me and Ash are as we're watching it going, maybe it's and actually I love that aspect because it gives the whole show a murder mystery type thing where or almost a Scooby-Doo thing. The monster needs to be unmasked because we both feel confident, and maybe other people will feel different. We both feel confident that this Vecna was once human.
He's definitely the most humanoid creature,
right? Yeah, and he's talking, and it feels like he's gonna have a revealing identity. He's gonna be a someone.
Yep.
And we have our theories of who we think it is. And it has changed a couple of times. Like maybe it's that person. It's like no, it
Same for
can't
myself.
be that person,
Yeah,
right?
same for
And then
myself,
you come across something else. You're like, maybe it's this person, and you're going, but that doesn't add up, right? Because of when these killings started. Like it doesn't add up with the timeline and stuff. So it's been fascinating to be going back and forth trying to figure out who Vecna is.
I'm also interested in knowing like what's his deal, you know?
Yeah, what's his goal? What's his aim?
And how does he pick his targets?
And how ultimately is he going to like tie into everything? Like how ultimately is he going to tie in with the Mind Flayer and stuff? Or does he at all? And is it just two separate agendas? That might feel strange when we get to the final season. It's like, well, who's the baddie then? Like, who is the big bad? Like, is one of these a side villain, or are they actually like interwovenly connected? Is this a case of a Sauron and a Saruman? If we're gonna do more Lord of the Rings references, you know, or is it like is Vecna the Witch King of the Mind Flayer? Given all this dark wizard kind of talk, you know what I mean? Oh my god, that's so cool. I hope like is as the Mind Flayer like sent Vecna to take them on, or I don't know. I have no idea.
In each season they have kind of, well, except for the third one actually, because it's kind of it's like Mind Flayer 2.0 in the third one, isn't it?
Yeah.
But in season 1 and 2 they have come to a conclusion, or they've come to a realization, or they named a creature based on a D&D kind of villain or monster. I really love how it was done in season 1. I felt it took a while before they started actually naming it in season 2. You know, I think it's like the ninth episode or something.
They needed to know what it does before they named it.
I don't like they very early
named Vecna.
Very early, they refer to this guy as Vecna in this season. I do not like how they came to it. I really don't.
Yeah, I am with you there, because I felt more like the other ones felt really natural, right? Like, so season 1, Elle puts the Demogorgon thing down she can't speak much, and she's trying to say there's a monster after Will, and because she picked up that piece, they then take to calling it the Demogorgon. The Mind Flayer, very naturally, it's like, to best describe what this thing is doing.
Well, Will explains to them what they're doing. And then Dustin, isn't it, goes, oh, like the Mind Flayer.
Like the Mind Flayer. So then they check out the glossary of terms. So they're like, this actually best helps us understand what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
With Vecna, it felt like it's like the writers were like, we want to call this guy Vecna, and we just need the kids to get there. Like, we just need
it felt like a leap. Like a huge jump there a little bit.
Yeah, I felt like, oh, so maybe he's like Vecna. You know. Now, okay, one thing that helps for context, I suppose, is that the D&D campaign that they were playing at the time includes the character Vecna. So that had obviously been on their minds, maybe. There's like, this is all... But yeah, I agree with you that I think it's a stretch. However, I also appreciate that they have a name to put on this character, because it's sometimes scarier when it's like you can put a name to it, where you're like, who's Vecna going to get next, or what's Vecna going to do next, or how do we stop Vecna? You know what I mean? That kind of putting that name on it gives them something. So maybe it was more of like they were like, look, we're stretching, or we're clutching at straws here, but
I wonder if
we also need this character to have this presence.
Are those characters and names in kind of the public domain? Like, can anyone use those names? Or does Wizards of the Coast...
do they have to ask for permission? I have no idea.
I've never seen a Wizards of the Coast. Now, obviously, with Netflix, the credits don't roll before you're on to the next episode, really. So, I've never seen if there was like a Wizards of the Coast kind of copyright thingy in there or anything. I've never noticed that, have you?
Yeah. No, I haven't either. I don't know. That's interesting, actually.
Like, Demogorgon, they can get away with, because I think technically it's an old myth anyway. I think, like a Greek one or something.
Right. Yeah.
But and Mind Flayer, they could probably get away with too.
Yeah, it sounds pretty general.
It does, and it's not using the exact design even, so it's fine. But Vecna, I mean, that sounds like a name that
Well, that would be very much like
legit.
If they decided, like, let's say the kids actually named everything after Lord of the Rings lore instead of Dungeons and Dragons lore. So then it's like they're going to call this guy Sauron.
Yeah, they 100% will need permission for that.
Right, yeah. So I totally get what you're saying. That's interesting. I never even thought about it. Do they have... Maybe they struck a deal a long time ago to use the kind of D&D stuff, and as a result, they're in the clear. I don't know.
Speaking of that, actually, there's they do play because before they get to the name that you were saying that they have a campaign with Vecna in it. That D&D match was fucking awesome. The way they shot that.
It was really cool. There's just the way a lot of the show is shot and directed. Like the direction is fantastic. I imagine the Duffer Brothers get a lot of phone calls and a lot of offers.
Well, are they directing it though? They're the writers. I don't know if
they directed the first. They always direct the first 2 and the last 2 episodes of each season.
Oh, okay.
So they directed the first 2 of this one. Then Sean Levi usually comes along and does the next 2.
Yeah, I know his name. Right.
And by fuck did he direct his ass off in this season, because 3 and 4. We're not joking, lads. If you haven't seen it yet, when you get to episode 4, it is unfucking believable how good it is. That episode alone deserves awards. I don't. It's so unbelievably good without telling you what happens. But anyone who's seen it will know.
It's intense, really, isn't it?
Ridiculously good. It's nail-bitingly good. And based on what you know, actually, even after seeing the trailers, right? And there's a lot of stuff from the trailers that people were talking about in the lead-up. Like, what does that mean? Right?
Yeah.
They were very clever to show us what they showed us in the trailers, because when you get a little bit of context, even from episode 1, you will then go, oh, fuck. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
And it's like a ticking. And that's clever
The
too. The ticking is awesome.
Yes, the way they use the clock.
You can mention the clock.
The grandfather clock was in the trailer.
Yeah.
The way they use the sound for that is really well done. But there's moments as well where it's not. There's a sound of the actual physical clock, and then there's other moments where they just use ticking as part of the score, and it's not the physical clock there, and it just unnerves you a little bit, because you know when you hear the clock, it's like a bad shit's about to happen. So they're using that like well, it's the usual tropes of using a score in a horror movie is that it's normally like, I don't know, like strings going crazy or something like that, but in this case they're actually just using an element which means doom, essentially, the ticking time, and it's so well done. And
I have to say, I fucking love the way in which they utilize the clock in terms of embedding it in certain sets.
Yeah,
it looks awesome.
I wonder if it's physical.
And sometimes I think it is. And I never want to see a grandfather clock ever again.
Well, there's other things that appear in those episodes where I'm like, I'm sure Chris is having a fucking field day here.
Oh, I was having a blast. I was like, why is it always? Why
can't there be butterflies?
Yes, very much so. But I'm also curious because that has me thinking as well, because without giving too much away, that element that you're talking about appears more than once.
Oh yeah, it's frequent. It's constant, actually.
Yeah. So it's that feels like something else. That doesn't feel like, I don't know. It's just you usually like that, and the clock are constants for everyone.
Yep.
Right. So it's just there's something going on there, I think. Without saying any more, but I don't know. I'm going to be watching episode 7 tonight in terms of when we're recording at the moment, and then I'm probably going to be just rewatching these 7 episodes for the next month, and probably diving into people's theories online. I haven't looked at anyone else's thoughts since I checked just a non-spoiler review or two initially, because I'm just worried someone will say something that I haven't come to yet in the episodes. Yeah. But by time I've seen episode 7, I don't mind, because we'll all be on the same page in terms of anyone who's watched it. No one can know what happens in the next 2 until July swings around. So, it'll be, I think there might be a fun month of theories and dissecting and trying to figure out where they're going with this. And like, I don't know again how episode 7 ends yet, but if I was them, I would hope that I even though it'll kill me, they should end it on a cliffhanger. Have us all itching for that next episode.
That'll definitely happen.
Yeah, 100%
For sure.
it's going to happen.
Well, every episode kind of does.
It kind of does,
Yeah,
and I feel like as
cliffhanger.
well they're going to end episode 9 on a huge cliffhanger, I would say.
Oh,
if they're
God.
setting up the final season.
Yeah.
And I also feel like maybe somebody will die.
At this point, they should. This is
Somebody
a huge
probably
roster of characters.
Someone needs to die. But that, or they're just setting up for like maybe the final season is just going to be a fucking onslaught. And at that point, there's like, yeah, it could be, but there's actually too many characters we like that it'll be heartbreaking to see
anyone go
nearly. Like,
yeah.
you know, there's one or two maybe you're like, I don't care, but they're all new. You know, like our long-standing cast is like, you know, I don't want to see any of them go.
No,
don't do it. But anyway, guys, that concludes our non-spoiler thoughts on Stranger Things 4 Volume 1 so far. We'd love to hear from you guys. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, jump down in the comments, share your thoughts. What do you think of the season so far? Which of the storylines is your favorite? Which of the characters' arcs are you really digging? And without giving away anything, I suppose, for people, because like if they're going to jump down in the comments, it'd be nice to keep that spoiler-free too. But how are you finding Vecna as the new villain of Stranger Things? Let us know your thoughts. You could also like private message us with your theories and stuff. We'll only check them out once we've finished watching the volume, so that you don't like point out, you know, in episode 7 when this happens, you know, but that's not. But if you want to get into that kind of stuff, once we've watched all the episodes, then we'll engage in those kind of theories, which is, but you can actually get in touch with us then on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take. And that goes for everyone listening to us on audio platforms as well. If you want to touch base, let us know your thoughts. And just while we're at it, just to see where people are at so far, this will be polled on Spotify, because you can add a poll there or a question. But you can jump down in the comments on YouTube as well to share your thoughts. Which show are you enjoying more personally for your own tastes and interests? Stranger Things 4 or Obi-Wan Kenobi? Which one has your interest more? And I mean, if there's one that you're just not watching, then obviously the one you're watching is the one you're enjoying more because you have no interest in the other one, maybe. But let us know your thoughts. Which season are you enjoying more and why? Thank you very much for checking us out, guys. Make sure to give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to follow us on social media. Make sure to follow the audio podcast wherever you are, wherever you're checking us out. And we'll be back to talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.